Alright, what is up guys? The beta was free, or it's free until the 9th, so I decided I'd download it and give it a try. Frankly, with Battlefront 2, being the Star Wars fan that I am, I can never be completely sold on this game. So I will admit that I'm a little biased towards the original one that came out in 2005. And the reason is because I clocked in more hours of gameplay on Star Wars Battlefront 2, the 2005 version, than I have yet to clock in any amount of hours of gameplay on any modern game that I've played today. So I will try my best to remove some of that bias and look at this game as an entirely different aspect and an entirely different light. Frankly, when I first got into the game, it did feel a little weird. You'll notice in the very beginning of the video that I did cut some stuff out. Well, I cut only one piece out, everything else is just raw gameplay. And the reason I cut that out is because I was fiddling with the controls. And the controls are actually not very customizable, and that induces the feel that this is a very casual game, which is already 1 point to the negative for me. So the fact that it's very casual and I couldn't customize controls so I could play it in a way that felt comfortable to me was already one downside. The aiming, the motion blur, I forgot what the term is for it, but it's very, very disorienting if you turn too fast, and it's just not very appealing with the handling and the control screen. You'll notice that I pulled up my shield here. That wasn't intentional, I believe, and half of these aren't actually intentional at all. It's just out of habit from playing another EA game, Battlefield 1, to spot. So that's on my fault, and I don't have any gripes against that. But to the point, frankly, this game is not very entertaining, okay? It's very boring, in my opinion, and the reason I'm saying that is not because, you know, oh, I'm being biased or whatever. It just, I get it's a beta and I get all that, but the gameplay is not dynamic. It's not at all. You see, with the original Battlefront 2015 that EA did, the gameplay, I felt, even in the beta, was dynamic and interesting, and it kept my grasp for me to actually go out and buy a PlayStation 4 to play Battlefront on. This game, not at all. It is a little weird. I probably should have switched it to third person, but I don't even think that would have made that much of a difference, because this game feels too much like a first-person shooter, which Battlefront was never a first-person shooter, by the way. I was looking at the new Heavy Blaster. I did notice that it was first order, so I'll get into all the time discrepancies later into the video. But at the moment, I'd say for gameplay and just the feel of it, it's not very entertaining. There aren't very many buildings you can go into, which is a step down. And I know people say, "Oh, it's to reduce camping and whatnot, reduce this, let's do that, and all that." You have this fantastic development team, which is known for not only their Frostbite engine, but for having things that make it different from every other first-person shooter. You know, just you think, oh, it's not really a big deal that you can't open the door, but you know, the fact that DICE took the time and the energy to put just small game mechanics like that in is really what set them apart from other development companies, and they're kind of just avoiding that, which I could have predicted that they would. The reason being is because if you look at Battlefield 1 now, there's a lot of latency, server lag, and just general bugs and errors that need to be fixed with Battlefield 1. And I think half of it's doing with they just don't have the manpower, which is understandable because they've now split their development team in two in order to get Battlefront 2 on this release, and to maintain Battlefield 1, which only at its best has maybe until all the other DLCs come out for Battlefield 1, I give it maybe a few months after the last DLC comes out, and then the game will die down pretty substantially. Which is unfortunate because I'm used to Battlefield games lasting at least, you know, at least 2.5, maybe even 3 years. Battlefront for me didn't last that long. I had the season pass, but with all the season pass bugs and glitches where I couldn't play on certain maps and I had to reinstall them or uninstall them and do all these loopholes for something that I had already paid for, irritated me. So the game died for me for the first Battlefront. The first Battlefront. The game died for me for the first Battlefront. Way before people actually started to stop playing the game in masses. So you can see why I'm skeptical on another EA Battlefront, and it's just because I can't be optimistic, especially when someone's track record says otherwise, okay? I'm no diss to EA or DICE, like they're fantastic publishing company and a game developers overall, but there's some things they shouldn't meddle in, and I believe that the Star Wars series is one of them. Now for the my other points, so for overall gameplay and just how the game is in general, I'd say I wouldn't give it more than a 3 out of 10. I'm just frankly not impressed. There's not anything I saw in the beta that would want to make me purchase the full game. Now, to get into the time discrepancies in the quote-unquote history of the Star Wars universe, because it is a fictional universe, does not actually exist and therefore does not have a real timeline, so saying history is being very lenient. I guess a better word for that would be the correct timeline of things. And the reason I'm saying that is because the 4 heroes that they give you are Han Solo, Boba Fett, Rey, and Darth Maul. Darth Maul is the only one that fits in the Clone Trooper era, the Clone Wars era. The other heroes do not at all. Boba Fett was a child during this era, so it would not make sense for him to fight with the Separatists, even though he did assist as a child, only because his father, Jango Fett, which would have been a much better option to put into the beta than Boba Fett was. At this point, I feel like they were just trying to get fan service by putting the most recognizable character and then the character that people most fanboy a lot. And I'm not even gonna lie, Boba Fett is my favorite character in the Star Wars series. But the fact to see him in the Clone Wars era is not only weird, but it takes out the immersion that this game had for me. As for Rey, that's just preposterous. Okay, she would have probably thought clones were a myth. She thought Jedi were a myth, and the Jedi Council existed during the Clone Wars era until she, of course, herself became a Jedi. So you know, and at that, not even a very well-trained one. So she's not even the Jedi in this time period would probably just dance all over her with no questions asked. So to have her in the Clone Wars eras was very immersion breaking. I don't really mind the blasters because in a way it doesn't make sense to have a futuristic blaster in a sort of kind of past war, but with the way weapons are, like, you'll still see people using old guns from today. It would be impossible for people in the past to use futuristic guns, but like I said, it is a video game, and you know, the history on blasters and all that stuff is kind of its unique own thing, so I don't really mind that. It was just the heroes for me mostly, and frankly, the controls overall felt stiff. I wasn't going to play with them. I've already spent too much time playing with Battlefield 1 controls, and then they just decided to add an update where it changed the whole control interface, so I had to readjust my controls when they added this update. And I'm actually surprised they didn't just take the control scheme settings from Battlefield 1 and just copy and paste it into Battlefront 2. You will notice that I did pick Han Solo. I'm not really good with lightsaber characters, especially with how this game felt to me. It just felt too weird to be using a lightsaber, especially when the gunplay was already wonky as it was. Overall, this game was not enough, or the beta was not enough to warrant me to go out and purchase the game. I didn't even play the beta for that long. I kind of got bored and was about to play Black Ops 3 Zombies, which is actually a surprise, but I only play Black Ops 3 Zombies when I absolutely have nothing else that I really want to play. Aside from that, it just, in my opinion, I'd say the overall game might be 5 out of 10 for me. I don't think I'll buy it. I don't think I'll play it. It's just not very appealing. That being said, if you do like the game and you do think it's fun, by all means, don't let me deter you from getting it. I know some people have different things they look for in games, you know, they're just like, oh, how fun is it and all this. But for the things that I was looking for in a video game were not found within the beta, and I know it is just a piece of the pie, but after playing the original 2015 Battlefront, as I have already gone over, it just, I can't really expect much from this series from EA anymore. So my sights are already on Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a game that I am infatuated with because the first one was that amazing. So don't be mad if I don't like a game that you like, and don't let me deter you from going out and enjoying a game that you might like. I just don't like it. That's all I can say. This is your boy Desecrator signing off. Oh, one last note. Tell me what games you guys want me to play. Seriously, like, kind of running out of options here, you know. But yeah, that's all.